Absolutely. The kingdom doesn't do communication well. I mean, if you look, I have an interview in the BBC in 2012. And it was after there had been a accident in the Haram during the Hajj. And a lot of critics had started to criticize the kingdom for what mistakes supposedly it had done during Hajj. And I was on the BBC and I said at that time, I said, you know, unfortunately, even though we have a new Minister of Information and a new Minister of Foreign Affairs, we're not able to communicate to the world what the kingdom has done over the years in Hajj, the amount of money it has invested, the effort it has made, the fact that Hajj is not only one of the biggest assembly of people on earth, but more importantly, it's an assembly of people from totally different cultures. And many of them come from very underdeveloped countries where they haven't learned things like, you know, like hygiene and other things like that. So the management challenge is enormous for that. Communication with them, discipline with them. This is not, you know, 3 million Germans that you're lining up to go into the Olympics. This is people coming from Africa, from Asia, from all over the world. Sometimes it's the first time they've traveled. So it's a huge job. The fact that you have had as few accidents as you have had in Hajj is a testament to the kingdom's effort, really. But nobody gave the kingdom credit. And that is when this is a problem the kingdom has always had. It's not good at communicating. Now, to analyze why it's not good at communicating, it still is not good at communicating. It's trying to get better. But we try to communicate till today, even still, in a bit of a, you know, we talk about the biggest, the best, the largest, the this, the that, which turns people off, really. And the kingdom has much more substance to sell the world than hype. So I always try to downplay any hype and show the substance of what is happening and results.
The Hajj is a very interesting one. I mean, you do have people from almost every country that comes here, different education background, demographics, different financial abilities, or there's a big wealth discrepancy between those that come here, and to have them all fall in line per se for the safety of the 1 million people who are there is a bigger job than anyone gives us credit for.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And the investments that have been made, and, you know, everything from new bridges and roads and fireproof tents and health services and training people in different languages. And it's really a humongous undertaking. And till today, we have not succeeded in fully explaining to the world. People think that the Hajj is a big moneymaker for the kingdom, and that you know, it's just a gold mine that the kingdom makes. Man, no, they don't realize how much the kingdom has spent and is spending.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ministry. There's a ministry, for goodness sake, that just does Hajj, an event that lasts 2 weeks. There's a ministry that works year-round on it.
Yes,
we don't get credit for that either.
Yes. So communication is something that continues to be a problem in the kingdom, and because it's not an issue of one man or two people or three people. It's an issue of it's seeping down into the DNA of the system. We have a little bit of the Dubai bug now, where we are enamored by glitzy videos. And I think those send a bit of the wrong impression to the world that what is happening, for example, in Vision 2030 is superficial glitz rather than substantive reform. The role of women, for example, is so important. What has happened to women? You know, people who come now to the kingdom see women normally driving and moving around, but they don't realize what the kingdom was 10 years ago, let alone the effort and how quickly that moved historically.
Lightning speed.
I don't think any country has gone, no country has gone through such wrenching social change in such a short period of time.
Do you think it's more of a problem of us not communicating? Is it a language barrier, or is it Western mainstream, let's take them for a second, who are not willing to listen?
No, look, there's always been prejudice. There's anti-Arab prejudice. There's anti-Muslim prejudice. There's resentment of the kingdom for being endowed with natural wealth. You know, people in the West say it's unearned money. There's jealousy, you see. So all these things are barriers you have to overcome. But then you have to remember the kingdom was closed to the world for so many years. So very few people had visited the kingdom. Now it's opened up. And I think that is the most important development in terms of communication, which is opening up, you know, easy tourist visas. I even tell journalists, you know, just get a tourist visa and go, you know, because everything you hear, they sit and talk to a few critics of the kingdom sitting in London or Washington or Toronto. And I tell them, you know, just get on the plane and go to Riyadh, walk around, and don't waste time on official interviews. Go and talk to young people in cafes, and you'll see how the kingdom has changed. And that's slowly happening now, which I think is very important. But we also don't appreciate the importance of communication. يعني a false news item will come out abroad. It might take us a week to deny it. We don't realize that the story goes viral within hours. If you don't deny it immediately, you might as well not do anything. And I remember I did my thesis in Princeton on the international media and the Arab world. And I remember in those days, the foreign editor of the Washington Post telling me, he said, look, you either open up the country and let people come in and see things as they are, or if you're closing the country, then he said you have to deal with whatever's written about you with, and I remember that word, exquisite disdain. And don't worry, don't complain. If you don't open up the country, don't complain about bad media. Now we've opened up the country. We're inviting journalists, but also journalists are coming on their own, and visitors are coming on their own. And I think that will be the most, it's not so much getting PR companies and making glitzy videos and having conferences around the world. I think that's much, much less important than just frankly opening up the door. Because the kingdom has a much better story to tell on the ground here than perception abroad. And it's a win-win for you to open the door.
Mm. You see it. I see when people come visit, I see the reaction on their face, those that come for the first time. This is not what we had in mind. Changing the perceptions through boots on the ground, I think is the best way to change the perception.
It's the only way, really. I mean, we do a lot of conferences and I think sometimes a lot of these are a waste of money and time. They don't, you end up getting the same people. What one American told me once, he said, you get the rice and mutton circuit, the rice and mutton circuit. So you get the same people who know the kingdom anyway, who come and attend these conferences. But when you open the door, like now, the tourism visa is so easy to get.
90 countries, I think.
So journalists also use it. And let them come and see the country. Some of them come and drive all over the kingdom and get a feel of a country and an infrastructure and an economy and a society that is just so different from what the impression that they get abroad.